DreamHack Open is brought to you by Astro, Monster Energy, Corsair, Hacks, and GGBet.
Here we have the beautiful country of Canada, the Great White North, some call it. Some people here prefer to just go out for a rip, bud, and that might be all that there is to that story. More importantly, over in Nova Scotia, you can find the Trailer Park Boys, wearing which one of the most iconic TV shows of our times. I can't recommend that for your younger children, but I can say that as an adult, it is one of the funniest things and the most accurate depictions of Canadians I have ever seen in my life. My name is Trace Loranthus, and I'm here on the desk alongside of Tommy and Dustin. And of course, we're going to be trying to make some sense of what was just now a delay going into this matchup. Who would like to take it away, guys?
What's the most valuable thing you can have, Trace?
In life or in Counter-Strike?
Anything in the world.
Time.
Time. It's the one thing you can't buy. Can't buy time. And yet we just wasted some. I don't know how many viewers do we have? Say it's 10,000. You know, round it up. Half an hour delay. That's 5,000 hours. None of us are gonna get back.
It's all gone wrong.
Imagine being so selfish that you're happy to waste 5,000 hours of other people's time. Such a shame. Such a shame.
The Finns have always said what's on their mind, and I can't even refute it because he does have a point. Let's take a look at this group. These guys did battle it out this far, and we're going to have a matchup here for the ages, I'm sure of it. Red Reserve and Kinguin are going to play a little Counter-Strike. Would you believe it, Dustin Moret?
Yeah, I mean, it took a while to get here, but we finally are going to see the rematch between Kinguin and Red Reserve. Last time they played earlier this tournament, it was a very close game, 16-14 on Train, so might be up for another close game here in just a few moments.
Just a few moments. That's right. This is a decider match for the group. This will propel one team to the playoffs and send one team all the way back where they came from, and hopefully this time with all their luggage.
I'm conflicted here because I like Taz. I would like Taz to win. I like having him around, seeing him compete. I think he'd be great to have tomorrow for the playoffs. At the same time, you know that if Kinguin now wins this game, they're going to go back home and think, you know, if we had our gear the first game, would have won that too. So I'm conflicted when it comes to this one.
What do you got, Dust? You look puzzled. You look like you have something on the tip of your tongue.
I might have 3 things on the tip of my tongue.
Not quite yet.
Oh.
Yes, you do.
Oh, got him.
Who's it by, though? You got to tell them who it's by.
Yeah, I got to tell them, of course, our boys over at Hacks GG. But I want to talk a little bit about how Kinguin's going to get some revenge. What I mean by that is, it's obviously Red Reserve beat him yesterday, and then even also beat him out in the EU Minor. But this is Kinguin's time, and one of it is going to be that the full team is here and performing well. Obviously, we talked about how, you know, we have some consistent players on the Kinguin side, and obviously we have Rusty standing in for Red Reserve, which means their in-game leader, Hampus, is not here, which ties into the second point, which is about how there's going to be stronger leadership over on the Kinguin side. Taz has his team running really well, playing a nice, you know, disciplined, aggressive style. Everyone's on the same page. Their timings are impeccable. The utility is really good. And it's just not as sharp over on the Red Reserve side. It's not that they don't know how to play Counter-Strike. It's not like they don't have good defaults or tactics, but it's just not at the same level of sharpness as the Kinguin side. And then finally, our last point is about the trajectories of these teams. You know, earlier in the year, Red Reserve was looking really strong, you know, doing well at Tour, doing well at the Key Invitational, being able to get into ECS. But lately, things have not looked as good, whereas Kinguin's been looking really good lately with the different Zotac events they've been playing at, as well as some better online form also. So I think this all points to Kinguin having the edge going into this one to get some revenge.
You might want to have a Zotactical approach. Just kidding, that was awful, and I will never say that again. However, now we can begin to look at what's very, very, very intricate and important to this matchup, a veto, which is going to decide the 3 maps in which we are playing on this afternoon. Now, guys, are there any maps in particular that we should look out for here? Are there any win conditions on either side of this?
Well, we know Kinguin's going to get rid of Inferno again, so I'll just go ahead and get that one done. Red Reserve gets to pick between banning Dust 2 or Nuke, in my opinion. That's like kind of the 2 maps they usually ban, and I think whichever one's left up, Kinguin could take as a big advantage. But we've seen Kinguin actually stray away from attacking weaknesses and just pick things that they're comfortable on. So, you know, obviously you could see Mirage played. Both teams don't mind playing that, but we'll just have to see what direction they want to go.
I do think we're probably going to see Train. I think both teams should be relatively happy to play that after the earlier game yesterday. So that's probably going to be probably going to be in there as the third map, I would think.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, here, Kinguin could go for Dust 2 if they wanted to mess with Red Reserve just a little bit. Though we did see Red Reserve beat Kinguin on Dust 2 in overtime at the European Minors, so that might be fresh in their memory, which might cause them to go a different direction. You know, other maps that Kinguin could go for would be like a Mirage, honestly. That's been one of their best maps to go to. That's been one of their best win results. So they actually do go for the Dust 2 pick. Okay, that's nice. I like that. Going for the weakness, and then we see Red Reserve getting Overpass, which is probably their favorite map.
And it looks like we could actually be headed to Mirage or Train. I guess the other option left is Cash. I don't think we're gonna see Cash. I would think that gets banned.
Cash getting banned, Mirage getting banned, leaves Train. So Dust 2, Overpass, Train are going to be our maps, guys. I was just trying to bring it down a little bit, you know. Oh, hey, there we go.
Eat the pick bans.
Sorry, I don't want to eat the pick bans. I don't want to eat any picks. But perhaps we move forward with some more bans here and some ideas in which either one of these teams are going to struggle with. We could talk about Red Reserve and the roster troubles. We could talk about Kinguin and peripheral troubles. But ultimately, perhaps we start with Red Reserve and what they could try to avoid here as they go into this best of 3.
Well, I mean, to me, the clear advantage that this team has, I mean, obviously they're a disadvantage when it comes to team play, when it comes to preparation, but I do think they probably have more skill. You look at their roster, you got Twist, Disco, Doppler, Brolin. I think they all have at least as much skill as Kinguin's best player. I think that's the part of the game where Red Reserve has an advantage. The problem is some of these maps, you know, are better than others for utilizing that advantage. You know, like you can't really just take aim duels all day long on most of the maps that are being played. Dust 2 could be one of them, but the problem is it does still require pretty good execution, regardless of what people say about the map involving almost no tactics.
Another thing you get to talk about with Red Reserve is the fact that they have a really good head-to-head record against Kinguin. I mean, again, beat him yesterday, beat him at the minor. I think it's 6-1 overall in favor of Red Reserve, and back when they were godsent going back into early this year. Obviously, slightly different lineup, but again, I just think that the trajectories have been a little bit different, which is favoring Kinguin in the slightest. But certainly, if you're a fan of this Swedish team here, you'll have followed them throughout the year, and you will know that they have, you know, had a pretty good edge against Kinguin. So I know there's like a mentality thing there. Obviously, a lot of those games were before Taz's time on Kinguin, so that could certainly make things a lot differently with different direction. But yeah, I mean, there's a tall task ahead of Red Reserve given kind of the roster situation they're dealing with coming this tournament, especially since I feel like Rusty hasn't really been able to contribute too much in these games. Like, they've been really more reliant on guys like Twist and Brolin, which is fair enough. That's like their 2-star players, and they typically can deliver. But, you know, there's a lot of consistent players on the Kinguin side, so I feel like a couple of guys are going to have to step up to kind of match that.
And obviously, you know, Freddy did try in-game leading previously. Didn't go that well back then. He's got some experience, but at the same time, that's obviously not the ideal solution for this team.
It's better than not having another guy that has experience leading, you know, like if it got stuck with someone else. So that gives them a little bit easier of a transition, but yeah, certainly far from ideal.
We have Kinguin here. Taz did give us a little bit of an interview earlier. What'd you guys see? Or hear, rather?
Well, I mean, these guys, I assume that these guys will be feeling pretty comfortable just because they managed to get their gear now. Obviously, you know, they got to win in earlier today. They've already got some warm-up. They, you know, have already played Counter-Strike today. Taz seemed pretty confident. I mean, from what I gathered from his answers, he basically feels like they're good enough to win as long as they don't make a lot of mistakes. But with that being said, it was obvious that, you know, there is some frustration as, you know, pointing out to the fact that they, like, all the right decisions just don't take place the same way that that Taz in particular is perhaps used to from his previous team.
What are the odds that even though they've got their peripherals, it changes absolutely nothing?
Well, I mean, they won earlier today without their peripherals, so I don't know if it matters.
I mean, here's the thing. We are at a fairly sizable LAN event, which means there's going to be a wide variety of other people's peripherals to potentially borrow. So I'm going to go ahead and guess that most of them had like, I would guess all of them had the mouse that they normally play with. Mousepad is going to make some difference. I think keyboard is largely relevant. I think your earphones are largely irrelevant. So I'm going to go ahead and guess it's like a 5% difference. The only thing is if there are some, you know, mentally weaker players, then those might be the ones that get affected more than others.
I mean, the thing is they looked really sharp in that last series, and they've looked just sharper in general than Red Reserve when I think about just how they approach the game, how they work together. I just feel like the roles are a lot more well-defined on Kinguin, where I feel like over on the Red Reserve side, it's a little bit more free-form on what positions people are playing and how they're approaching it, whereas I feel like Kinguin really have it set in stone, what they like to do, who likes to play what spot, and how they work together as a unit. I think that's like one of the big things that'll take them far in this series is, yeah, Twist, Brolin, super skilled, flashy players, but look, a guy like Rollin can sometimes be super flashy, and guys like Mazino and Manise have been super consistent, so I think they, you know, have a lot going for them.
There's one consistent factor you guys are forgetting to mention, and that is every time we do one of these, I ask you for your predictions. So, what is your depiction?
Again, I'll just go with the reasons I went with earlier and just say that Kinguin should be walking away with this one.
Against my will, because I am an objective observer. Of
course.
I am gonna go with Taz as well. So we're gonna you know 2-0 gang up on Kinguin. I feel confident you're gonna join us in that corner as well.
Red Reserve.
Okay. Ooh,
just a curveball, just one for the old books there. But I guess looking at this one, I do suppose we could be poised for a good matchup. Almost as good as a older Scrawny, perhaps even in high school. 16 to 17, I believe, was the age that he gave us. That went on to say he was bullied by an elementary school kid. And with that said, we're going to go ahead and bring them in now. And Launders, do you have anything you want to say on his behalf?
I had a lot planned, but then after I heard that, it's all out the window. I really don't know how to take it from here. But Scrawny,
how about you guys just take it from here? We're going to go in there.
We most certainly will. Thanks, Stunna. Appreciate it. Listen, it built character. I've got character.
This is why he is the way he is.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
and it's the way.
Take that for what you will.
You know, we'll just let Stunna be Stunna.
Yeah, we'll let Stunna be Stunna.
Mohan, we are back in with some more matches. I'm excited for day 2 of Counter-Strike. Red Reserve Kinguin, I think, is an interesting matchup. I think we've seen some shaky, wobbly legs at time for each of them.
Yeah.
But regardless, I do think it's a good pairing of teams.
I think so too. I think that I definitely see Kinguin winning it, but I feel like it's going to be a dragger.
Yeah, I think Kinguin should win it, right? Remember, they're coming off of a recent performance at Zotac Masters, which was fantastic for them, getting into the grand finals, dispatching of all those other type tier 2 teams, and just facing the grand champions of MIBR in the finals. They come here, again, peripheral woes, but now they have no more excuses, no more reasons to keep things delayed. So now, they should make best of Red Reserve. I would absolutely say so. Most notably, of course, because they have a stand-in. And it's not just a stand-in in terms of a rifler or a sight anchor. No, it is your in-game leader. So it's certainly a back foot that they are playing off of.
Yeah, you can say that, though, even though they're like lost their in-game leader.
Doesn't change anything.
They're like they're like the ultimate Swedish pug. Like, I think I like Campus for his fragging. So
yeah,
like,
same. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I don't think anyone's allowed to join the cult of Red Reserve unless you can frag, and it shows in their play, man. I mean, I'm confident after years of casting all of these players and different teams and B or tier level rosters, and them finally like joining up after like stints in FPL and all of that. They know they're a pug team.
Yeah, most certainly, right? And I mean, that's why they should be playing into their strengths. You know, don't try to be something you're not, Stunna.
Yeah, be yourself, Stunna.
No matter who tells you otherwise.
Yeah, even if they're shorter than you.
He didn't even mention that part, Mohan. God. All right. Let's get into the pistol, folks. CS in your faces. We, of course, have Twist still with the Molotov. He's chucked a smoke all the way down range. Or rather, Rusty has. Taz waiting. And the tunnels push comes in. Nice and slow here in round 1 of Dust 2.
Seems like they want to do a mid to B. It's actually the P2K that's firing shots through the door just to bait. Again, we've seen that before where someone plays close door, someone a little bit farther back to bait, but it's a 2-1-2. Good setup for a mid to B.
See if the taps shine through for Maus. Absolutely not. The bullet goes back the other way, as does the second kill. Good offensive push into the B bomb site to get themselves a 5 versus 3. And while Disco tries to deal with the men in mid, which would have been a perfect way to box in this retake, he will fall. So the opportunity presents itself for Kinguin in the form of a 3v4. No utility for this retake, no kit either. It's Kevlar, it's pistols, it's guns. And it's starting to work already. Remember, they also have a health advantage, and now the man advantage. Freddy and Rusty challenged, and it's Kinguin back into the B site.
To be honest, this is one of the only rounds where you could say maybe on a retake it isn't too hard for the CTs. Yeah, exactly. There's not going to be a smoke on the door that might get refreshed or a Molotov in window. Instead, it's like you know where everyone's going to be. There's still all really hard spots to win your duels versus, but if you have someone on the tunnel flank and they win, then you're okay because there's no one to play the best after plant spot in the 1v1 at the end in tunnel. If he dies first, then you know the big box guy can't sit there anymore. You know that the car guy can come out and be peeked by the guy who comes out the door. The really hard part is figuring out if there's somebody on the underside of window and which side of default they're on. That's like the kind of 50-50 for the guy coming in the window. Like, how do I approach that? We've got a little small mic issue for Red Reserve.
I'm starting to think it's our fault.
Maybe. Every time we come on, we get a little bit of a TeamSpeak / mic issue.
We're taking all the mic juice.
Yeah. I mean, are you spiritual?
Yeah, I'd say so.
You know, none of us have all the answers.
Exactly.
I want people to remember that.
Of course.
So it's kind of an aside, but I mean, you know, I don't know if it's our fault. If it was the power of attraction that these guys have a TeamSpeak / mic issue.
I think the law of attraction is very strong, Wanders.
I didn't want it to happen. Did you will it into existence?
Could have. He said Red Reserve. It looks like Taz may be experiencing the same problem.
Yeah. Maybe you should go back to the borrowed gear.
Yeah. Get a different mic. His is resolved because I saw the thumbs up.
The thumbs up is a big one. International symbol of comfort. Or comfort? Acknowledgement? I don't know.
Doesn't matter because we got Counter-Strike back
to the game.
At ya. Obviously the buy-up from Kinguin. Let's see, Red Reserve, not investing too much. $400 in the form of a double flashbang. Everybody just rocking the conga line into the catwalk, but the cat scratches back. Reet. Not gonna finish it off, it's actually Manai's. Easy peasy, round 2. Let's move on to the third.
Let's get this out of the way early though. Isn't it a Manise?
Manai's?
Okay.
I don't know.
I'm not sure.
You tell me.
For years I've been saying Manise, but it's one of those things where I've never heard it said in real life, so I have no idea if I'm correct. But you're the one person that says Manise, and you can see it. You can see why it might be Manise. It might be Mini SE. You never know. Anything's on the table, I suppose, until we ask ourselves. Maybe I'm going to grow a pair and just approach him and ask myself.
Yeah. Don't let your dreams be dreams, Wanders. Right now, we've got a dream from Red Reserve, and that is to use this early buy in order to establish their first T-sided round. We've got the initial damage versus Rusty. We've seen some flashbangs been chucked both ways, and still so much smoke and flash still for Red Reserve to get this one rolling. But they don't want to overextend into mid. Rollins trying to bark back. First casualty trickles in as the rotate goes back into the B site. We've got this Colonel defense. You can see Reets coming back in from long A as well. Because they have that forward position now towards long doors, they can bolster the bomb site where Rusty is going to walk forward. He is the lead man in what is a silent expedition from Red Reserve. So far, unknowingly, they have gotten this close. Taz has a glimpse as to what is up, but he sees nothing more because of the flashbang. Perfectly placed. Next up would be that man from CT Spawn. It's Reet yet again. He has just been next to these walls, playing a thorn in their side until suddenly both die. Kinguin into the 3v2. And despite Brolin and Disco being on a thread of health, Rollin now just needs to clean up. This was be an easy sweep if he can figure out where they are, if the time still plays into this, because Mouse is the man with the kit, and the bomb has half-ticked. And Brolin, behind the boxes, sits patiently. Disco's got him covered, but the wall's not good enough. Soft cover, and a good kill. But the headshot's not coming in, and the retake connects.
Well played in the 2v2. Easy round for them after they got those initial frags. I like the adjustment from Red Reserve to go up on Cat with the 4 players and try to lead off and walk as far as they can. And to complement that play, they also had that amazing Goose Flash that completely blinded whoever was sitting there with the FAMAS. And once they had creeped that far across, they realized that with this ultra passive setup, obviously there was going to be somebody in a position like that. And so it was really smart for them to finally show their hand there and not assume that they were just going to be given the A site for free. We're into this next round. No pressure on Cat. F4 here with an off to support.
Nice.
What
good spray down. 3 headshots on top of it. Protect your face. Can't lose the goods.
No, this is the money maker.
We're not good at commentary.
Being good at Counter-Strike is just the first 5%.
Yeah.
All right?
So much more.
Great teeth. It's another 5%.
And a good signature. Does it not tilt you off the face of the earth to see some of these player signatures?
It actually matters so much
It
what your
should.
signature is. I still use kind of like a cursive signature that is a little bit different every time, and I feel like I need one that is more
Consistent.
like yours.
Yeah.
You've really thought about this.
I mean, listen, no one ever asks for it.
I know you've wanted to have fans for so
But
long.
when somebody does, I want them to know I've put in the effort. I've prepared. I have prepared. 4-0. Here we go. Kinguin keeping it rolling. Solid CT start. Again, pistol round, early bide, shutout. And now round 5 should feature some more guns. But this was the play that denied any real movement here with pistols.
Yeah, this is one of the cool things about Counter-Strike is just having so much trust in your teammate because you know how this plays out. So, like, you know, maybe in a pug that offers, like, here's a couple of kills on Cat. I'm going to go around, swing on this corner, and help out, and then the guy lower kills them both.
Yeah.
But in this game, you know, he knows exactly what his job is, and his teammate's not expecting him to come around that corner, maybe even body block him and take some team damage. Instead, they've just got to trust each other to do their jobs. We've got another tech. We don't actually know exactly what is happening, but it looks like a replacement of the earbuds. Audio issues once again.
That's all right. Again, these are the quick fixes, right?
The fast ones.
It's nothing that requires opening up a computer. No one's chucking monitors off of the stage.
That's the worst.
It's just an unplug and inplug? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not even sure if that's like a technical pause. If someone's throwing a monitor like all the way off, that's just a pause. That's not technically a pause. That's just a pause.
I mean, the only guy cool enough to have actually pulled that off so far was Henry G.
Did he throw a monitor off a stage?
In a show match major. Major show match. PGL,
That happened?
I think it was Krakow.
They're always with those WWE antics.
They are.
They had the, I almost said a word that you're not supposed to say usually on broadcast, but there was the thing with Sponge and him with the coffee. And
Yeah,
then
that was good
They
content.
brought a fighter in for that.
Did they?
And I can't remember his name.
Mark Hunt.
Mark Hunt.
Mark Hunt, right. He was on Sponge's
Big Mark
side.
Hunt. That was awesome.
I mean, I wouldn't want to fight Henry G.
I wouldn't want to
got
fight
the edge.
Mark Hunt.
But I think Mark Hunt's got him.
Yeah, that's for sure. No offense.
No offense at all.
No offense at all. I'm sure he'd put up a fight.
I've always wondered, you know, I mean, like the YouTube boxing matches became a recent thing.
Yeah,
But
we
what if
need
we
to
get into
fight.
CSGO
Oh.
talent boxing matches?
Yeah.
Hugo, if you're out there.
Honestly, Sponge, call him out, dude. Make it official. I would say, I think Sponge and Henry would be interesting.
I'd watch
pay
it.
$5. Yeah.
I'd watch it. I'd also love to watch James throw some fists.
With anyone.
Because he's huge.
Almost.
I don't think people understand just how tall.
James and DDK would actually be quite interesting because
Doesn't DDK have martial arts behind him?
he's also jacked,
Yeah, of course.
right?
Yeah.
So
Super athletic guy. And James has a past with MMA because I remember him getting into UFC super early on. So he's been a big fan for a long
he
time.
always talks about WWE as well,
Let us know who you'd like to see fighting.
which
in
is
the
not
CS:GO
completely
world.
showmanship.
But we have another fight on our hands, folks, and that is, of course, Kinguin Red Reserve back once more. Smooth as we move forward. Rusty waiting for the lower walk, and sure enough, Rollin unsuspectingly falls to the trap.
Long Control was traded, though. Now they're sitting out here with a kill as well. And with a player in tunnels, they've got lots of time to work. They don't have to worry about a steal push into upper B. And instead, they can just focus on this A take. Not enough map control right now for Kinguin to be sitting here comfortably in a 4vX.
Crosshair may be a little high if they do. There you go. Slight adjustment in the face of utility. Throws the frag down. Decent damage, but Twist gets him the moment he moves between those boxes. So now the Molotov puts the heat on the feet. Three reels himself back into the catwalk, and Freddie B tries to spam smoke and a chance to drop a body, but Rusty looks good. Coats Taz with some bullets down towards spawn, and as he falls himself to the pullback from the catwalk, that is a retreat in and of itself. So 4-2 is the player count, as this one could come to the close. And Red Reserve on the board here, Mohan.
Yeah, right. And it was convincing fashion. It also, the most important things that fell into place were the cat control at first.
Yeah.
The initial kill, the long control, and then moving up together quickly. And op, as you mentioned, to make sure that no one crosses past this per certain point as we take long, meant that it put it puts Kinguin in a very tricky situation. And there was something we talked about the other day, which was yesterday, where if you lose long control, you go for cat. That's kind of the trade-off that you get, whether you like it or not, and it's kind of risky. Well, as soon as they take long, they know immediately to just throw the 2 Molotovs down and make sure that nobody can retake from that position as they plant. And they've got so much utility left as well, because they got that kill on someone who was trying to lurk. It was too difficult in the post-plant to do anything. So a really great round for Red Reserve. And although it's only one, it definitely shows that they are feeling pretty comfortable here on Dust 2.
Now, we've got a little discomfort potentially for them to face, because Kinguin have the double op set up, and Manai's posted early towards long doors. His teammate walks in, dies immediately, and then Twist even gets the second. That's fantastic for Red Reserve. And a third, Brolin towards doors. You've got a split defense in the form of Kinguin, and well, unfortunately for them, this round has slipped.
So in the protocol of a default, everybody has a way to get a kill. Some players have a way to get a kill that's a little bit more safe. Some people take a risk, and they're the focus of the early round, where, okay, you're going to be a little bit more aggressive here. We'll see if we can get some map control, and if you do win a kill, then we might go and act on like long control, for example. So in that situation, we saw 3 people in their default, all following protocol, some taking lesser risks, but then everybody just winning a duel straight up. And it started with Long with those 2 kills on the push. So Kinguin tried to get kind of aggressive there and didn't realize that Red Reserve were going to be watching it. Can't really fault anybody for what they tried. Can't fault for Kinguin for trying to poke around for a bit of map control. And I think losing that engagement, or losing the extra engagement at mid.
2 rounds in a row now, actually, we see Kinguin go for some kind of a aggressive foray, this time into long doors with that 2-man setup. And then remember, previously, Rusty punished the tunnel push. So we do have Kinguin, you know, trying to take those fights on the opposite side of doorways, right? I do feel like Dust 2 is very much sectioned off between your terrace and CT side. There's no near open avenues, just tight entrances, other than, say, Cat. So we'll see if they start reeling themselves back once they get back onto the guns, but the frag stack is fantastic. Look at the damage. And you can see the Pistoleros trying to give chase. They want that gun, gimme, gimme. But they can't get their, oh, they do find their paws on it.
Disco did not want to let that happen. That's going to be a thorn in his side.
Yeah, most certainly, especially if that AK can find itself in an impactful position. You could see Manais rotating back towards spawn. They do come off of long. 3-man initial setup, so I like that Kinguin did also have early B presence too. Because the action was going down on A, I wasn't sure if they used utility themselves. They don't have any left on them. And this is just going to be the walkout. Taz, not necessarily equipped for a multi-frag, maybe could get a good headshot, but he falls off immediately. Rollins in the corner with a CZ, and nobody looks. He gets himself 2, an upgrade to the AK. Give us the 4th. Twist sweating bullets, and Rollins firing them off. Automatic gunfire makes the difference, Mohan. 4 kills from the corner.
That was real nasty. And it was kind of like a mistaken bait setup where they just had no idea anybody would be playing in this position. The double car, who really does that, right? The 1-player closet. And it's just because somebody fell off the double stack that he had the ability to nail down those 2 kills. And also the early damage that was dealt by the man on double stack helped him finish the first frag. These double nades at long have been so, maybe a little bit too effective, Connor.
Yeah. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice.
You're an idiot.
Exactly. Twist, unfortunate casualty to start off this one. We'll see if Red Reserve can bounce back from a 4v5. They had been given a couple of rounds whereby they were awarded a man advantage, but now they're going to have to work for it. Ooh. And labor laws says Brolin's not allowed to work. Back to school. Dropped into the 3v5. It's not a good look for them. We'll see if any desperate gun duels start to come in, or if they're just going to try and flex the exact same play as the previous round. A disadvantageous walkout into the B site.
They know they lost is the thing. Mentally, you know you're in the tunnels, and it's dark in there just like it is in your mind, knowing that there's so much of the map that the CTs are just roaming around for free. Got to push in here. Reese gets the first kill. Mouse almost gets burned to death. but manages to survive, and it's really just on Red Reserve to try to get whatever they can. Just a kill or two, maybe. But 30 seconds left. I mean, do they want to try to go for this? They don't have the bomb.
They're going to try to punch their way out. Sure enough, they do get the first kill, but Reitz has the cover of the car. Metal and gunpowder.
It's a tricky entity, that car, just because with the sprays being slightly random in CSGO, that's kind of why we've always wanted entities to just be removed, because of how the bullets will sometimes be absorbed by something that's basically impenetrable.
Yeah.
And sometimes you'll get like a lucky spray.
By
they try to smooth out.
You mean like these obscure pieces of cover?
So anything, yeah. So
the
an
forklift,
entity in
the vehicles.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So anything in Counter-Strike that is like that would just be like an entity. And so they've wanted to replace those, like a top banana on Inferno. They've made those into boxes and like a wood plank.
Yeah, I feel like there's this consistent cleanup. You know, over time, things have gotten smoother.
They did a good job with the car at Long, where you can penetrate through the windows really easily. It's easy to nade out, which is important, and it's nice and kind of symmetrical. So it's pretty simple. It's got a couple of curves, but that's it.
Nothing wrong with some curves, Launders.
Yeah.
See if Manise can chuck back a curveball of his own, because he could get a collateral. Oh, he nearly gets Disco Doppler. The damage is there. It's just not enough to finish him off.
Got Tom Cruise, but not Jamie Foxx.
See if the repeat can add anybody else to the cast. Nope. Second shot astray. Still the assist comes in, and now the pressure's on. Up close and personal that Rusty pops his noggin and upgrades into the AWP. Now, if a Deeg were to land, we're really talking. But it looks like the business hours are over. Freddy B 1v3 pushed by the guns, and Kinguin extend their lead by 5 now.
That's a big one. This was kind of something similar we saw with Red Reserve, where there was a couple of good things in a lackluster start overall, and we definitely saw ways that they could win, but they never got it together for the rest of the half. Kind of how I'm expecting the series to go. I would just say that I feel like Red Reserve have a strong chance on their map pick just because of map pools. Maybe I'm wrong about that. I don't know. Kinguin, their new peripherals seem to be fired up.
I mean, again, Kinguin, this is a team that has been performing as of late incredibly well, just short of it. Outside of Major, that is.
That was actually kind of obvious for Rowland. He did manage to get almost over 100 damage in between the two of Rusty and Disco Doppler on that Molotov. So his part's done. Everyone's frantically trying to help with the rotate to stop a mid to B. Taz's position is going to be kind of obvious, however.
Yeah, most certainly. And Manise is able to drop Rusty straight back. We've seen Rusty applying this pressure towards mid. See if Kinguin can continue to plug the holes in this ship. Could be sinking in a 3v3. Twist resides in mid. Molotov not going to force Mouse out of any position, but he still takes the duel and he loses his head for it. That mid control's now gone, so they've lost their anchor and they're going to plant for Catwalk regardless. If they do move back, it's going to be difficult because Reitz is here to skewer them. Oh, but that is fantastic because now Freddy B cuts it down to only Manise, and the flash through is going to have to be great, but he's caught off guard by Disco Doppler. And Red Reserve back on the board.
Somehow. I mean, there was a number of ways that Kinguin could have just stopped that entirely.
I feel like if the counter-terrorists were afforded to pinch back into the bomb site, then those two terrorists are caught in no man's land. But because we get that aggressive position and peek towards car, because they cut off one prong of the fork before it actually comes forward, they do make their job a little easier. Easy prediction there towards the smoke. And once more, it's the long Ake play that will net Kinguin an opening kill.
That's 4 rounds that the long A player, has died on a lot of those rounds that Kinguin has converted. In fact, like 2 of the rounds that Red Reserve had won, Kinguin still had the advantage or even up in a 4v4.
If I'm not mistaken, that's now, of the 5 long clashes, Kinguin comes out with a 5v4 4 out of 5 times. The only outlier being the pistol.
Oh yeah, so there's a pistol at the very least, but can barely count that, right? And so they're not learning from that mistake. It's very tempting. I mean, I'd say like towards the end of 1.6, one thing I know is that it's when maps became so simple, people were playing off spawns. That was one of the main advantages you could have, and that's something that we know about with Dust 2 this early on, just because it's got the most played, most understood meta. So we have a lot of spawn-based stuff happen at the pro level on Dust2, and that will always happen.
There's a slight gap in that one. Could give way. Rusty. Oh, they're staring at each other, but a next smoke comes in. Still, it's good enough for the kill. Freeze just counts as lucky stars and almost drops Freddy on top of it. That would have been a superb position for them to be in. The only real difference maker could be Disco Doppelin, but now that he's down, it's a combined 15 health for the 2 remaining Red Reserve members. We get something to talk about, because there could be a bomb plant. Now, if this man manages to pull off a 1v5 on 11 health, I'd eat a boot.
Yeah, would you eat a boot? One thing I wanted to mention there is just like psychologically, the way that Reeds played the smoke on Cat was nice, because a lot of times your first response to getting shot through the smoke is to shoot back, and a lot of times you'll regret that. Reeds found a good way to react to a smoke fading and then finding the kill on the right side of the smoke, and then he actually stayed kind of right in the middle. But if you're the player on the other side of the smoke and you don't know how that player is going to move, you're spamming for the corners, right? Because that's where everyone goes.
Yeah, the angles.
The same way that someone would act if they were blind, when they're just trying to get away as fast as possible. And so he just didn't move, and that was actually the smartest decision. Going against your instinct is actually quite huge in that way.
I mean, they have spent absolutely $0 here in this round, Launders. It's about as vanilla as your sex life.
Okay. I didn't know I told you anything about that. But,
oh my God. Talking about sexual tension. Oh, what a freaking beautiful grenade. Good job. I love clean anti-ecos like that. I mean, it's a shame when you see somebody get completely shut out of a round, but I don't want to see pistols doing magic.
Does that just satiate your OCD, Connor?
A little bit.
Was there any damage dealt the other way? No. Oh, that nade comes out late.
Smoke on the cross. Rusty unable to soften up any targets. A double op setup back from Kinguin, but you talked about spawn plays, and look at this one. A classic rush B. Taz gonna feel the heat as he hides behind boxes. It's Rollin to drop the first one. He stopped him on the cross, but now the grenades come down. His job made that much harder, and we've got the fragmentation hitting him in the caps. Down to 49 health. And the bomb plant delayed because of the Molotov. Brolin anticipating the tunnel push. This is an off angle that most certainly catches one player by surprise, but the second doesn't die. Manai's able to round it off with one of his own. So we're even keel 3v3 and a difficult B site retake. But the utility is good for Kinguin, much better. Of course, now that they have even a man advantage, Rusty low, Disco Doppelin full HP, but Rollin knows where this offer is, so that's an easy cleanup, and the last man's on car. He's got the cover, but not the aim, and not the opportunity for a 4th round. Yeah. Double digits for Kinguin.
Double digits for Kinguin, and they, on the retake, they checked all the boxes, obviously. They killed the guy who's playing at the back of the site, K-Sharp. He's the hardest one to fight because he can head glitch and basically try to make sure that no one from tunnel can get it easily. Once that guy's dead, they can move in a lot more quickly, but they still have that one problem of who is the guy under window? Is he on the front side of default watching the door, or is he on the back side of default watching window? Yeah. In which case, he has a huge advantage versus that guy. So they spent their time taking that fight carefully and made it look easy after that.
Size matters. Rollin tagged down by the scout, but Freddy dropped by the op. And while the flashbang goes high, Twist goes through. A little bit of damage off of a deagle, but Taz gets the best of him. So 2 engagements were damage exchanged, but the frags picked up here from the favored players. Because, of course, look at this purchase. It still includes 2 pistols. CZ and the Deag. A couple of flashbangs can always make a difference. And Rusty gets his paws on the scout. So Rollin and Taz only really the liabilities here. Mouse, full health, 2 players ahead. Speaking of heads, Brolin's just gets busted open, and Rusty swings a shot back the other way. Now he's going to commit to the wide peak, and sure enough, he sweeps the last 2 players.
Yeah, now Kinguin has kind of really activated this free-flowing style that they can easily kind of rotate. It feels like communication is brought to a minimum. Or they've got like a low resting heart rate, right?
Yeah.
They understand exactly what's happening on the map from the terrorists. And everything that Red Reserve does, I think, is becoming a little bit more obvious. And now we're in round 15, and it's a good buy for Red Reserve, but again, it's game plan that's been their biggest issue. 4 players kind of outside long, one watching down mid. And it seems like they want to go for a late take instead of losing their first guy in the first 10 seconds to nades. So we're making progress, Connor.
We're working on it. We're getting there. But we're also getting to the end of this first half. 15th round is upon us before the swapping of the sides.
Interesting. So they didn't go out early, and now Kinguin are punishing them that, knowing that they really want to take long at the end of the day, re-smoking long, letting them know they're aware of the play that's imminent.
Even despite that late frag, it still does do some damage. Fire at the feet, but rolling? Did he just 180 Manize?
He might have.
Oh, that is good, crisp. I love it. Taz commits to the car. Op should pull the attention, so he will be in a position to do a little damage. But only one man falls. He's burned out thanks to the utility. This has been nice from Red Reserve. However, it is still a man on the cross. Mouse could continue on, but it is no longer, of course, the CT side from Kinguin. Still fantastic from them, and now they'll go to the offensive to try and set an even better precedent. Maybe a flawless finish.
That round was a little bit of a write-off, huh? I mean, firstly, though, this is so nasty.
Right through smoke.
Decides to just spam it. Not even sure if Manice initiated that engagement, right? It's like when you got bullied in high school.
It was elementary school, man.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
I think the other guy was elementary school. We don't know if he asked for it, basically.
Does anyone ever? Are you victim blaming?
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Whoa.
I'm not trying to activate. I'm not trying to
settle down.
Listen, I spend all my time on Twitter, and I want to make sure I don't anger anybody.
Everybody settle down.
Dropped her on the line.
So is this match. I mean, 11-4 could be a quick finish. It's been a quick start. This does, of course, as Dust alluded to, play into the map pool that I think Kinguin are trying to punish versus Red Reserve. This isn't somewhere that they tend to end up. Overpass, however, I think is going to be a complete and utter turnaround because that is the Swedes' homeland. So, you know, I do believe that we could have on our hands a 3-map series. I don't think that you should let this low round count and affect your opinion of Red Reserve.
Might just be getting started. Oh, one of my favorite things to do with USP is just boost 2 fast cat on the pistol. Looking up mid is really strong, and they're kind of walking it here. So they also hear this long presence, which is really nice with a play like this, without actually having to commit. Now, Kinguin realized what's going on, so they're going to go back, sit there just for a second, wait to watch flanks. This is too much of a passive setup from the CTs, but they expect to have a fight soon.
Oh, they've already closed the gap, made the cross. Some have. Twist. Just popping heads here. So many headshots. If I'm not mistaken, every kill thus far has connected to the dome of someone. Reitz wants to try and keep that Catman back so that the plant can come in. How's the retake look? Very armored. No utility, no kit currently on anyone. Reitz now with a deep smoke could close this distance, get up into the face, but the bomb's not planted for them. And both the T's seem to be coming this way.
Clock ticks down. There's no kit here. I'm not sure if they'll be able to pick one up or if they have one bought. But they literally have to move
Rusty
now.
has one. He just got it now. They're really trying to force the duels towards this catwalk, and in doing so, I mean, this round's over. Defuse comes through. And Kinguin, they wanted that cat control so badly, Launders, but with a plant like that, I see a disjointedness.
It's a strange one. I don't even know what their plan was out the gate. See how this kill comes out from Twist? He actually gets 2 because they didn't smoke the cross, and they threw a smoke down on Cat. So they saved a smoke that they had, but if they had smoked the cross, they would have had 2 players up. And what does it actually, how much did it really help them to have the smoke go down on Cat? They didn't even plant for it.
No, exactly. I feel like maybe it's like you think, okay, he's behind the staircase, quick, clear. But, okay, no, now he's got to be around the corner. Oh, he's got to be in mid. And it's like you're so committed to finding that kill at that point, knowing that he's there. You don't want him to come in from behind either. But this is a fast one. And regardless of the speed, the tenacity has created an opportunity for Kinguin. It's not the greatest. They are still losing bodies, but hell, they've got the bomb plant now in back-to-back rounds. Ooh. And Taz lands one straight through the eyes of Rusty.
Imagine.
2 HP, 2 enemies, and another landed shot. But again, damage the difference. It is the retake for Red Reserve, but still 2 good rounds for Kinguin.
A couple of Glock shots that had Dazed rolling in his grave, but they managed to make the most of it. Kept 2 alive, which is pretty good. They go for the defuse, and they've got a lot of ground to make up for with Kinguin being 5 rounds is better, but this is a good place to start. It's unsure. I'm unsure at least.
Hey, those are my parents.
Hey.
Hi, Mom.
We got Mom Connor
Hi, Dad.
and Dad Connor in the crowd.
Of course he's got popcorn.
Yeah, is that
That's
his
a classic
his
Ted.
go-to food?
A classic Ted. I'm sure the moment he smelled it, he had to. That's so cool, man. I love being in Montreal. It's so cool.
Yeah, we kicked it off. He's already showing me around.
Yeah, glad you're here with me, man. Taz is kicking it off, right? You want to talk kicking it off. What about a 5v3 in the opening 10 seconds of the round? And not only that, he's going to continue. I mean, they could just charge their way straight towards A because the save's been called at B.
That's what we call a quickie.
Yeah. I wouldn't know anything about that.
Back in Toronto.
Have you spent much time in Toronto? I feel like you've just been on the road since you've returned.
I've been pretty nomadic, to say the least.
That's okay.
Left my luggage at an airport for 10 days. Went to Hong Kong with you.
Yeah.
Where I met you for the first time in a year. And then we casted Zotac, and then I got back, and then I stayed in a couple different Airbnbs. I actually recommend staying in an Airbnb with a private room. Had a very positive experience where I've always just done like an entire apartment, so you get the room to yourself.
A full place.
But this time, I mean, I might have got lucky, but like my Airbnb host was super cool.
So it's essentially like having a roommate for a...
It was basically, yeah.
Okay.
So you don't know how they're going to set it up, but we had, like I had walked in one day and the door was unlocked. I was like, oh no, like why is the door unlocked? And then I saw there was a mess all over the apartment. And then I like called Julie and I was like, Julie, is this okay? Like, why is everything so messy? And she's like, oh no, it's fine. I look around and there's like half-eaten chocolate strawberries on the counter, and then like a bunch of illicit substances on the other counter. I was like, whoa, what's going on in here? And she's like, yeah, we're having a drink upstairs. Do you want to come join us? So went up to the rooftop patio, met her friends. It's a very positive experience. I really recommend trying a private room. If you've got no reason to be by yourself.
Just listen, guys. Human interaction, it's not that scary.
It's what keeps us all going.
It's true.
Other people are very important.
So is this round as well, because remember, we're talking doubled the score already in this 12-6 scenario. Freddie B on a limitation, so you can see obviously all the economy invested for Red Reserve. Losing this one, not only giving that edge to Kinguin to continue with a very convincing win, which we saw from them earlier today, right? They went blow for blow with E United. Pretty lopsided scores in the first 2 opening maps, each team picking up their choice, and then it was only close once we got to the decider, the middle ground. But even despite only having a deagle, Freddie B bolstered confidence. Because what do you got to lose?
Man with a plan.
You'd hope, as he is in-game leading.
So
temporarily, no humpus.
So he wants to stay here because he can control rotations. He sees like, he knows he's got a lot of them locked in along, and they might be aware of this, but going back is so hard. I mean, it's not something they want to do. So they might execute and wait and hold, keep one person on the flank, but that actually brings them down to a 4v4. But they've actually decided to evacuate, push up together.
Whoa, accidentally maybe gets the man in the back. Either way, the job's looking good. Here comes Freddie B, wants to initiate the flank, and sure enough, nail in the coffin in terms of Taz. Rollin left alone, just near instantly, just as fast as that peak. Freddie B has wind as to where he's at, and Red Reserve going to cut down that lead a little bit. Still lots of work for them to do, but that was a very crucial round for them to win.
You definitely wonder if it could have been handled differently, and not something I brought up because it's very standard to take long, know that you might get flanked, but then just leave somebody in the back with an AK to clean up the frags as you start to execute. And because they had the 5v4, they had that luxury. Not sure why they didn't leave us one person, which might be my single kind of black and white criticism of the matter, that in the way that they handled it. But apart from that, I mean, they still should have been able to have knowledge that A site was probably stacked, that they might get flanked, and then they still had the guns to help them win those duels. You go long on anti-ecos because of the long ranges, and they still had that going for them.
Let's see who gets anything going first in this one. We are at the minute 20 mark, and still no casualties. A flashbang that could have certainly made a difference, but I think Taz eats a bit of it. He doesn't want to run around the corner. He is convinced to retreat ever so slightly because Brolin just pegs him with one in the face, but nice nades off of the wall. Bombarded to smithereens. More damage back and forth. They really want to contest this cat control. They don't want Kinguin to move forward. And all the while, Red Reserve not making moves elsewhere. They continue to try and fortify that mid position, because if you can convince them off of cat, where do they go?
Yeah.
Right into the line of sight of that sniper, which you saw pick up a kill, as Rowland does himself. Man, we're just going back and forth, blow for blow. But it leaves Rowland alone. And he doesn't have the bomb. Oh, but he does have the aim. Twist gets his head wrapped backwards. And Rusty has 22 health to try and make this happen. That's 2 less than that of Rowland. So a single bullet from either gun could make the difference here. Who's going to hit it first?
He knows what's going on. Rowland's too smart about this. He realizes that there's just such a prime opportunity for the CTs to have watched that bomb, and now he's going to hear a footstep. I think Rusty stepped on the gas pedal a little bit, and he's about to get flanked.
Oh, but if he gets behind the box, that could have been a whole other scenario. You see the flash go over the top. You see Rusty maybe think he had trudged his way towards long, and sure enough, Rusty just makes the wrong call. So Rowland 4 kills in that one, including a 1v2 clutch. No, excuse me, just a 1v1, but 3 of the last 3 kills.
Has actually cited Manice and Rowland as the 2 Cerebro players, just kind of
Aware
in a passing comment in the previous interview. So you can definitely see it with a play like that, just understanding how someone would play that 2v1 even though he got the first kill nice and early.
And not too easy either, because Rusty, I think, is another one of those Cerebral players, right? You'll see him on the T side very often being that one kind of lone lurker. He's always trying to read the situation and find his opening, just kind of slip in behind. But this time he slips up. Rowland will punish. Red Reserve, they're going to take their second pause of this first map in our Group A Decider Best of 3.
It's really scrappy. I think, you know, as you were highlighting the way that Red Reserve played that round.
Artillery.
Yeah, another maybe other way. Somehow Manice survives the first 2, but 3 is just too many.
It was his Iron Chalice. Oh man, just nearly manages to get himself the kill, despite, of course, the doors in his face. A second with a Glock?
Why not? He's been on point this whole game, so it's probably just riding high on confidence, which is when you'll see someone pull out the secondary and take the fight without even kind of running it by the IGL. You know,
yeah.
Hey, I'm going to go for this. That's just when you were kind of in the driver's seat. The only thing that you could do that would mess you up is to second guess yourself and maybe slow down your decision making. They definitely have the rounds to work with as well. Twist now gets aggressive on Cat. The angle is not good enough. Rowland at least opens up the round, and Brawlin, however, is right behind him. Or in front of him, I should say, as he comes up for the trade. Making out a 4v3 in favor of Red Reserve. Far behind in this game. But have made a good play off this information, realizing where the bomb was staged up, and the majority of players had put their attention.
Ooh. Run boost. Nobody here to receive, of course. Not only have they left Disco Doppelin beneath in lower tunnels, but they've always got that wraparound going through spawn. Unsuspecting to the position. Oh, Disco nearly doesn't get this kill, but he will find it and then immediately fades away. Doesn't want to try and push his luck.
This is great. See, they double push in the tunnels and then they split up. This is the best way to do this. So now Rusty's at top mid. I don't know if he saw Taz, but he was like a sitting duck there. And it seemed like he totally passed by without sharing that information with his teammates. I don't know how he missed that, actually. Gotta really just bring that monitor in.
Pull a Zenteres.
Oh my god, they've actually like almost kind of left the B site, and Rusty just has no idea what's going on.
Guys, I saw no one.
Definitely, yeah. We've got an inside man here, guys.
They're probably anticipating some kind of a cat play. Or maybe now with the utility being shown towards B, they understand exactly what is up. If an off shot from Brawlin can stop them on the cross, then that would be great. Disco Doppelin even now loses his line of vision. Freddy B is not going to be able to stop the bomb plant, so Kinguin have created a situation for themselves. They have to worry about the 3 players retake from mid and also that eventual flank in from Rusty. We just talked about it. Let's see if he can find the timing. See if he can create a distraction for his teammates to maybe make the most of things, because the utility goes out first, and so does Mouse. The second down. Rusty, good job. And it's Red Reserve whittling away at this lead.
Yeah, for sure. And again, just to go back to that previous round where we had Rowland win the 1v2 and looked really smart doing so, they in that round, Red Reserve looked good. They pushed they had that, like, they controlled Cat, and then they had the 2 players who were going off of Cat push back into mid, and then Twist opt 1, and it was like man advantage whole round. Great early round control, good aggressive opening play that shows you have a game plan. And so they were, you know, doing all the right stuff in the beginning to mid-round. So I definitely see that, like, even though Kinguin have somehow brought back these man disadvantage rounds, they're still not necessarily out of the woods.
Have you ever been lost in the woods?
No, but I know you live near some.
Yeah. I'm a country folk.
Is there a story you want to tell us?
No.
Okay.
I don't share my wood story, City Slicker.
Right, whatever stays in the wood. That's the Vegas of rural Canada.
Yeah. I'm interested to see whether or not Catwalk becomes a crucial part of this round, because we had Brawling Brolin get both of those kills and trade frag successfully last time there was any kind of pressure. It is Twist who seems like he may get the initial engagement, but he's got to be cautious because the flash goes high. Doesn't blind his eyes. In fact, he just walks away from that. Doesn't want to gamble his life away. It is valuable, after all.
Something you should never forget. Cat control's not coming easy. Red Reserve know that it's on the menu for Kinguin. The #1 place where people go on defaults as first in the first part of the round. And if you deny them with these smokes, it makes it really complicated. It messes up the flow for the whole rest of the round. 45 seconds left, and they've at least got out mid, but they've been squeezed here. 3 people in B. Red Reserve want this to happen.
Oh. Good lockdown here by Rusty. As you said, they want this to happen. Not only for them to walk right into him unsuspectingly, but also for it to be so clean. Because in the cleanliness of those kills lies the save call.
Yeah.
Kinguin call it quits. Time for some football.
They didn't even see how many people were left in the site. Just losing those 2 players was enough to let them know.
Nope.
Not a chance, you know? And it's smart. It's actually great for Red Reserve here to go and search. And Freddy's going to get a lot of information quite soon, realizing that the remaining members of the other team were in tunnels. These kills are super important. Not a lot of money here for Kinguin.
Luckily, doesn't have to happen after time. Just 2 seconds the difference there. Could have spelled even further disaster. Would have been a capital D.
Big old D.
But lowercase in this case. This was the superb marksmanship from Rusty. Easy, of course, just floating in and out of doors. Knows he has 2 players to support, and that tunnels was watched. So he wanted all of his attention and gunfire in that one direction, and he makes the most of the scenario. Kinguin, time to take a pause. First of 4.
Yeah. So again, it's the early round that's really difficult. I personally think that the one cure to somebody taking strong or being very aggressive about cat control is that they're very uncomfortable the whole time. If they don't have the ability to resmoke on cat, you've got to be careful about where you want to use your smokes as CT, and especially if you're throwing them too early. But if you wait them out, I feel like there is a very easy way to go and grab that cat control. And last round they went for the mid to B first. Manise finally wins that duel at long, and that is going to be a big win for Kinguin. For Kinguin, as Red Reserve now scramble to find a way to make up for this fact.
Yeah, they do so by pushing a player into cat and then also going for this 2-man expedition into tunnels. But not only do we have Kinguin coming in with an AWP and an AK, because they've just evacuated long A entirely for Red Reserve, they can't contain that M4. We now have 3 weaponed players for Kinguin on top of the Kevlar, and still the 2 pawns to be thrown forward here on the CZ75s. If they all group together and move before Red Reserve understand what's up, then maybe the defense isn't prepared, but they have to go now because the flank's coming in and the grenades are great. Just on the corner of the wall, but the walkout from the smoke costs Freddy his life. Misses the timing. They were already still staring at him, and Taz, as an insurance policy towards mid, puts Twist in a susceptible position. This is a great round for Kinguin considering what they bought. It all comes down to that first op kill, and Launders, he gets it blind.
Half blind, and they come out long, and that's it. I was worried that for Kinguin, because Red Reserve made a great adjustment where they had the double push in tunnels, and Kinguin gave them enough time where they could actually get into very powerful flank positions off of that information. But still, Kinguin played it nicely, and Freddy made a strange push through the CT smoke that was definitely intended for them to cross. I don't know why he would think anything else. And, like, he had so much information. He knew that tunnels was taken by his teammates. There was definitely like 3 to 4 people from Kinguin net long. He knew that for a fact. So picked a strange time to try to be aggressive there. And I guess overall, I mean, even Taz activating that flank to seal it up. I mean, if he didn't go get those 2 kills, maybe we have a different round, a much closer retake situation.
As the chances get thin, as does the amount of pauses remaining here for Red Reserve. They will have 1 after this. Both teams saving them towards the end. Kinguin obviously not needing them so far because they've been in the absolute and total control of this situation here from the get-go. There have been glimpses from Red Reserve, but there's been consistency from Kinguin. You can see it this...
Consistency with a K.
No. Monice will not be given a target. No free meals. Rollin tag. As Twist is boosted up, the totem pole does damage. I believe we've got, no boost, but just the double setup towards Cat as well. 2 ops on the offense trying to find an early 5v4, and they weren't given the duels they had hoped for. Knowing Twist is here towards mid, we may see one of those operators try to counterpick him. You'd anticipate that he may be trying to find those tight angles, and so if you're patient enough and can land the shot, you're good to go. Sure enough, there it is. It's actually over towards long that they find the duel for their favor, and they're going to play off of this. They're going to just trudge along forward, try and force themselves across, and in doing so, they present themselves to Brolin, who does get the first kill, but nothing more, because where'd Kinguin go?
This is weird. They're not actually set up to take anything off of him being that aggressive, so now it's just kind of a reset, a free kill for no reason. At least they get that. Reitz has been consistent. And now the scramble rotates come out as the B site has been compromised.
Yeah, so many bodies shown by Kinguin towards mid that you saw the entirety of Red Reserve's attention on it. And in doing so, they just forfeited over the bomb site. Disco Doppelin could get lucky with some spray. Sure enough, he slightly damages 2. But bomb plant's going to be in. Tunnel control currently still for Kinguin. He is seen, spotted, and dealt with. Taz popped just beneath the windowsill. Disco Doppelin wants to get the retake rolling, but Rollin's attention is still here. He wants to help Mouse. He doesn't need to worry about his flank, but he doesn't know this. They stay honed in on the mid push, and it does leave that on Freddy. Last smoke goes out, no kit currently on him, and now he's lost his head. Kinguin win their map choice, Dust 2 to the poles. And we will move to Overpass.
It was a tight race all the way to the end, and Manice had a nice heads-up play there under window to replace his teammate, killed Disco, and go on to finish off the round with a nice 3 or maybe 4 kills in total. Overall, strong performance from Kinguin. It definitely felt like there was a lot of great things to say about the CT side of Red Reserve, but that being said, like just overall, it wasn't as strong. And as Tommy mentioned on the desk earlier, it's interesting because Kinguin, you say, have a better team, but you might also argue that Red Reserve have more talent on their team than Kinguin.
Yeah, you could argue, right? They definitely have some of those kind of star-studded potential players, right? We haven't seen much from Brolin. We haven't seen that complete and utter lights-out performance, but maybe we will, Mohan. Maybe we're moving over to Overpass. Again, I think we're going to be expecting much more comfort from those guys, but speaking of comfort, sink into your seats, folks. We're going to be back with our second map. Again, Overpass, the choice of Red Reserve as they now face elimination. It's DreamHack Open Montreal, and you're not going to want to go too far.